Hello, this is Perry Mink. It is Thursday, October 15th, 2020 at about 6:05 p.m. This is For the People video, and I will be giving updates and current developments as to how the government is still terrorizing me. And it is still going on. I changed the format of For the People video. I will start with the homework assignment exercise, and we are working on the case with Barry Bonds, the baseball player. And in yesterday's video, I talked about other people that I learned about that were actually set up, and then other people were basically buddied up and were, just got a slap on the hand, so to say. But the real people that were set up were, it was Barry Bonds and his trainer Greg Anderson, because there was some kind of a way of influencing or somehow enticing and then altering what was happening to the athletes. So what I found is that was the actual case, and this is illegal, and you'll hear why this is illegal. It says in the case was U.S. versus Bonds, and this was filed in 2013, and it said the charge arose from testimony that Bonds gave before a federal grand jury investigating his and other professional athletes' rumored use of steroids and other banned performance-enhancing drugs, PEDs. And so that was just based on rumors, and that's the same as hearsay. It was not based on evidence, and so there was no forensics evidence. So going back to what I talked about yesterday is that Trevor Graham, the sprinter athlete and coach, was the one who tipped off this BALCO drug, this type of undetectable performance enhancing drug, and he contacted the U.S. Anti-Doping Agency, and I looked into it, and they are not a government entity. Now, from that point, the IRS investigated BALCO, which stands for Bay Area Laboratory Cooperative. And what I didn't know before was that they were testing athletes for any illegal drugs in their system. And I don't know how it works in the sports industry if somebody orders drug testing. And I didn't look into or get to that part yet about why that business was doing testing, who approved them. So at that time, I don't know who was the commissioner for the IRS in 2002, and I looked on the website, and it's an incomplete list. And in the news, the investigator that led the BALCO raid was Jeff Nowitzki, And he is from Burlingame, California, which is in San Mateo County. And that investigation went on in 2002, but I don't know if the FBI was involved. Now, when I looked up about FBI investigations, the law says within the federal guidelines, the rules, is that it comes from the U.S. Attorney General, but I'm still not clear on that. And I think that then it comes from the state's Attorney General, but again, I'm not clear on that. I tried to look up how the investigation went from this U.S. anti-doping agency and then how it ended up with the IRS. Because what the IRS criminal investigations was looking for was money laundering from the sale of these drugs. So it indicates again that this was a fake case or a false case with the intentions behind it was that it was a setup, and that the people that were being set up were the people that were ruined, because the main culprits were the founder of BALCO, the chemist, Patrick Arnold, and this other man, the discus thrower, who was Heredia. Now, again, I didn't get to researching about Greg Anderson's previous involvement in any drug activity prior to BALCO. So when I read parts of this U.S. versus Bonds case, what I learned was that the IRS investigators raided BALCO and obtained evidence suggesting that Anderson distributed BALCO manufactured steroids to Bonds and other professional athletes looking to see if money laundering occurred. Okay, so the key word there was the IRS investigators simply obtained evidence suggesting that Anderson distributed BALCO manufactured steroids. Okay, so there's two parts to this. So the evidence that they got simply suggested, and what does suggested mean? It means that it's to bring before a person's mind indirectly. So it was not solid evidence. So the other part of this equation is that Anderson distributed BALCO manufactured steroids to Bonds and other professional athletes. So they admit that BALCO manufactured steroids, so they knew that this BALCO was manufacturing illegal drugs. So the case revolved, though, around attacking and terrorizing Anderson and Bonds. And then I found out this Trevor Graham. So when you read what the judges said, and there were 3 judges from the San Francisco U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals out of San Francisco, and the judges were Susan Illston, and I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, Stephen Reinhardt, and Carlos Bia. So I looked these people up, and Susan Illston was working for a private law firm in San Mateo, and there was a statement on it wasn't a judicial profile, so to say, but it was like a fact sheet about her. And there was a statement that she made. She said she found the byplay between the attorneys and judges interesting, quote unquote, and believed committee's task was important for the practice of law in San Mateo County. So the first thing that I was shocked was interesting, quote unquote. Well, that's lackadaisical in the legal system. When you use that term interesting, it simply means you're like you're not actually involved. You're not observant to then make another step forward in anything that is actually taking place. The other word I didn't know what meant was byplay, so I looked it up. And the definition of byplay means action engaged in on the side while main action proceeds, as during a dramatic production like a play or movie. So this was an indication again that they think that the legal system is a movie, like it's some type of environment where a movie is playing out. What are we going to see here? It's like live porn or a live, you're watching a video or something, like you're not really there. You're not actually engaging in it, but you're getting a thrill from it. It's disturbing, really, really disturbing. So she was a member of the bench and bar committee of the San Mateo Bar Association. All right, so I looked into that. Disturbed me. So I looked into this Judge Stephen Reinhardt, and he's Jewish, and he had a complaint against him for sex assault or some kind of sex, inappropriate sex activity with a clerk, former clerk from some time ago. And then this Judge Carlos Bia, who was on the case, is communist. He's from Cuba, and this should just be illegal. And it should also be illegal that the legal system should not be a movie house. That's not what the legal system is for. All right, so I looked into, and also this Judge Illston, she ruled in the Bonds case. She said, or the information I found was her ruling that in 2000 and 2001, drug test and lab results were inadmissible because Bonds trainer Anderson would not testify. So it came across in the case study by reading the case that these judges knew that this case was fake, that they knew that it was just for entertainment purposes, but that it was also to destroy these people, Bonds and Greg Anderson and this Trevor Graham. They were actually punishing the whistleblower, and they were making up information about this testing, drug testing that BALCO supposedly was doing, where the federal agents knew that BALCO was already committing illegal acts that had nothing to do with Bonds and Anderson and Graham. It was Conte, Arnold, and Heredia. So you could see how over the years it was simply to make a spectacle. I called it, my response was a public flogging of Bonds, because that's what I remember, feeling when it was in the news, that it was really targeted at Bonds. And it just was a sense like to get at this guy day in and day out. Like, how can we suck the life out of this guy? How can we get his money? How can we drain him so that he can't even function and hit the ball? How can we, let's watch him suffer when he goes to play, baseball. I'm not a baseball fan at all. I mean, if somebody asked me to go to watch a baseball game, I've only been to one game long time ago in the early 80s, and I was wanting to knit or learn some work on a craft project. And so I would not go to a baseball game, but that's besides the point. My interest or lack of interest in baseball has nothing to do with what I'm saying about the life of this human being, which was to destroy him. That was the intent. It was all based on a facade, something that they were making up. Just like how I explained in the Youngstrom's case with the CHP officer, it was to, what can we create here to play out before us, and let's see what happens. Let's see how far we could go with this. It's so evil. It's so sinister. All right, so I looked into, because I didn't understand, where did the case go after U.S. Anti-Doping Agency? All I can find was that the IRS criminal investigator was Jeff Nowitzki, and he was the one that led it. That doesn't mean that he was the one that said, I'm assigning you to this. I couldn't find anything on that. But he is from Burlingame. I wanted to look up about his name. His name is a Slavic name, which is Russian, Ukraine, Polish. And I also found information that said that he has been accused of being biased and unfair. And so when you're in the government, you would be influenced by this cruel Catholic MO to go along with setting somebody up, even though you may not know it. So some people who may have had to investigate may not have known that there was a setup. For example, in this case, that there would be a setup against Bonds, and that they wouldn't understand it to its full capacity. Like, who was doing the backroom dealing exactly? Was it Jim Fox, the San Mateo district attorney, and then he met with, this Terrence Hallinan, because they wanted to generate, how do we kill two birds with one stone? How do we make money off of this? How do we get attention out here? How do I get attention? How do I ruin this person? And look, I'm friends with Conte, so let's do this together. I don't know, would these judges admit to saying, we know that there is corruption in the government, and we found out that it was with, Hallinan and Fox and Conte, and we, met at the pub, or we went to the, we got a box together at the game, and then we talked about it. I mean, I don't know, but do you think these judges would ever come clean on it? I mean, this is corruption. This is horrific corruption. This is total heinous corruption in the government. All right, so that, the assistant U.S. attorney that was the prosecutor against Bonds was Barbara Ballier. I'm not sure how to pronounce her name. I couldn't find one thing on her. I don't even know how to look up, and I tried, the information on a U.S. Attorney General to find out the status about them. And then one of Bond's attorney was Dennis Riordan. So this case was really about making something up, a movie. It was to kill two birds with one stone, and also this twofold double whammy, because we don't know who in the government was also set up to get rid of them, because maybe they spoke out against it. This case is not legitimate. This is not how you hear a case. You don't get a grand jury to operate the Spanish Inquisition on somebody based on hearsay and suggesting, that's what this was. That's what this was. And the only other, the only other thing I looked up, I tried to find out who was the head of the FBI in San Francisco, and I couldn't find that information either. All right, so that's what I worked on today, and this case is very complicated. However, as you look at the information, it was strictly a very violent movie played out in real against the people that they wanted to harm, and that was Bonds, the main target, and Greg Anderson's. And so I'm going to do some more work to find out about the history of Greg Anderson, but he was high on the hit list. All right, so for the update and the current events, some of you may have watched my Twitter, and I went down to the Martinez Amtrak transfer station to catch. I took the bus right out here because it's very hot today, and I took the bus out to the Amtrak station to catch the 28 bus. And when I went there, there was a Martinez police SUV and another unmarked law enforcement vehicle that I don't know if that was federal or if it was local. It was black though. And then I caught the 28 bus, and I'm so scared that I forgot that the 28 changed its route, and so I ended up going in the opposite direction after the VA clinic, and then I had to walk back, and then I went to the shopping center to pick up some food items, and I ran out of water, and then I was so late I couldn't stop to get some food for Winnie, so I need to do that on another day. And they're still terrorizing me, and they keep doing this in a very clandestine, very nefarious, dirty way. And so one thing that happened, when I got onto the bus again to come back, a senior man got on by Walmart, and we were the only two on the bus going back to Martinez Amtrak station. He got off earlier, and then when I got off, I turned around and it looked like there was poop near where I was sitting, but Winnie didn't poop. They did that guy did that to, cause, to trigger that Winnie is a problem and that they're still targeting Winnie. Then I got back. I got the 99X back to just a block away, and when I came in, the neighbors were just letting the hose run with water, and we're talking a very hot day today, and that is such a waste. And of course it flowed down over to my area where the backyard, where the back steps are. And then why would they want to do that? Then I just opened the curtains to do the video, and somebody attacked my zinnias out there. So they keep doing this, and the women in the federal government are using their government jobs to take out their aggressions on unsuspecting people who need court services. And it's because the government, the legal system, is very, very corrupt through and through. And we need a separate government entity to come in and just wipe them out, to completely regain our legal system. And there should be plenty of people who would be willing to do that for this country, because communism in the United States is illegal. It's recorded in our law books. It's illegal. All right, so this video is about 30 minutes long, and I still don't have gas for hot water and for the stovetop burners. My phone is still not functioning properly as far as the photos, but I'm going to try again to reset it. A phone call did come in, so I was able to hear the phone ring. I have not been able to get Winnie a doctor appointment. I still do not have the proper eyeglasses, up-to-date lenses. I'm trying to think of what else. I haven't received my corn silk tea order yet. I ordered a t-shirt that said, everybody pray Puggy, and it had the Giphy man with Puggy, and then on the back I put my beloved Pug Elvira, and it said everybody pray Puggy, and they canceled that order claiming intellectual property or something like that. And that image is public domain. It was on Giphy, and that means that anybody could use it. And the way that the government is operating is to destroy the witness. And that's why I am speaking up against this Catholic-run government system, because that's what they do in the Catholic Church, and they teach it at their Catholic schools. And I know because I experienced it firsthand, and from my mother, who went to a Catholic school, high school, and what they were teaching them is that you don't see the person as a human being, and so you never recognize that person's pleas. So if the person is asking for help, your immediate response is to not help. It's the opposite. It's the opposite. And so many Catholics are in the government that's how they're responding to the witness or to a victim. And it's provable. I proved it with evidence. But my dad wasn't like that. And he would never even think of doing something like that. And the government I guess because it's so Catholic, they want to get rid of anybody who would speak out against them, including my blood family members, who were also tricked too. People don't realize that the way that the government is working is that they flash their badges and they drive government vehicles. It's all paid for by taxpayers, but it's very clandestine, very manipulative, where they are going to trick you already knowing that ahead of time, and so it's premeditated because it has to do with this movie that they are playing out, and they're like voyeurs, but they're actually acting out to cause the harm, and then they're just watching it, like gawking at it, and then like a voyeur getting a thrill from it, and then wanting to do it more and more and more, and it needs to stop. All right, thank you for watching. This is a Thursday, October 15th, 2020, about 6:35 p.m. Learn, prepare, be brave, inform others, outsmart them, and regain our rights. And that means our individual rights. It means that each and every one of us is an individual. And when you're communist, when you're Catholic, you don't believe that each person is their own individual person. All right, thank you for watching and signing off.